career when changing careers. Sorry, we started a little bit late. We had some technical issues. You can do all the test runs that you want, but still, sometimes these things happen, hey? My name is Iris Smith, and I'm joined by Carly Victoria, who is an accredited creative life coach and a positive psychology practitioner. Geez, that's a tongue twister. And she helps people ditch social expectations, empowers them to live life on their own terms, and be the author of their own life. So, first thing I want to say is I know that in the UK and in Europe, there's a bit of a storm. So, Carly, you're here. Yes. Hopefully, your internet connection will stay stable so you can stay here. Fingers crossed. But maybe, who knows, maybe things will go down and Carly might disappear. I'm in South Africa where the internet connection is never reliable. So hopefully I won't disappear either. But we're here, and I hope that you guys, anyone who's joining in, also won't be affected by this storm. Hope you're staying safe, stay indoors, and that your internet connection stays stable. All right, so today we're going to help you find, as I said, help you find the right next direction to move in when you want to make a career change. I'm guessing if you're here today, you have probably fallen out of love with what you're doing. You know you want to make a career change, you know you want to do something else, but you might not be 100% sure what that something else is, or you might feel like you're going round and round in circles and you just can't move forward. You can't find a way forward. If that's the case, amazing. Stay tuned. Grab a pen and a piece of paper because I'll be teaching you 3 really, really important steps to help you figure out what direction to move in next. And Carly will take you through some guided journaling exercises to help you tune out all that noise and all the external expectations and tune in to what's really important to you personally. But before we dive in, quickly want to introduce myself and Carly for those that are new here. My name's Iris, already said that, and helping people change careers is my jam. I absolutely love doing that. So over the years, I've helped hundreds of corporate professionals say goodbye to jobs that at best they liked, but didn't love. And I'm here to help you do the same and build a career that really works for you. So that's me. Carly, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Iris. So as Iris has already mentioned, I'm Carly. I am a creative life coach and positive psychology practitioner. That is a mouthful to say. And I just help people ditch the social expectations that say we should be living our lives a certain way. And I empower them to really create a life they truly love, as cheesy as it sounds, and empower them to be the author of their life. And I do that through life coaching, through workshops, through a number of different courses online, journaling courses, creative courses. And I specialize in using creativity and journaling to really get beneath the skin, get beneath the surface of the skin, really dig deep into our subconscious and actually understand what do we want at the core and what do we want to spend our time on this planet doing, because it is limited and really we want to be spending it doing the things that we want to do rather than the things we think we should be doing. So I'm on a mission to break down these social constructs that say, we should be doing this by this age or hitting these certain milestones, and just really empowering people to live the way they want to live. So that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing. So I'll be asking you a few more questions about your journey, how you got to where you are now in a little bit. But for now, what I wanted to say to everyone who's watching, either at this moment right here and now, or anyone who's watching at a later stage, and you can chat with us either in a chat box, if you're not comfortable with what am I trying to say? With the chat box, you can always do a private chat with myself, with Carly, and we also have the comment section below this video. As I said, if you're watching now or at a later stage, we're there. I'll know that I'll be reading your comments probably a year down the line when this video is still up. So whenever you're watching this, please say hello. Don't be shy. So say hello in the chat box, and let us know where you're dialing in from, because I'd love to, or tuning in from, I'd love to know. So if you're here today, I'm guessing that you might be in either one of the following situations. Situation 1 is where you don't actually hate your job. You don't actually like, oh my God, it's just the worst thing ever. You might even quite like it, but you feel that your job or even your career at large just doesn't quite work for you. Maybe it's the long hours, maybe it's just the insane pressure, deadline after deadline, maybe it's a long commute, maybe it's a lack of flexibility. Now you need to go back to the office. You realize that working from home was quite nice, but your employer is not giving that to you. Or maybe it's things like the bureaucracy, whatever it might be. You feel like it's just not 100% right for you. And maybe you also feel that your job or your career suppresses a part of you that's really important to you. I hear that a lot. And often that's creative side, that you feel like there's no way you can let that out at your job. So that's situation A, situation one. Situation two is that you just don't enjoy your work anymore as much as you used to. So you used to really enjoy it, but now you feel like you've fallen out of love with it. And you just don't have the same kind of passion or enthusiasm for it anymore. You don't see yourself progressing. You're not really interested in getting your boss's job or even your boss's job. Or you might feel like you've hit a ceiling. So that's often when people change careers, what I see is those are the two situations that people come in or come when they start working with me. That's how they feel. People actually rarely really hate what they're doing. Obviously, sadly, that does happen, but mostly people either feel like they are in a job that's just not right for them, doesn't work for them, but they don't hate it, or they've just fallen out of love with it and they're looking for something else to do. Now, I'd love to know, are you in situation one or situation two? Let us know in the comments. All right, I'm talking super quickly. What I wanted to ask you next is, well, not ask you next, what I want to go next is to say that whichever situation that you're in, situation one or situation two, it doesn't really matter where you come from, but very often people who come to change careers, who come to this point in their career where they feel like, I want to do something else. They have this feeling that this nagging feeling that there just must be something more to what they're currently doing. Either something more in them that they feel like they need to bring out, or it could be something more like more of an impact they want to make. They feel that what they're doing is just, maybe just making money for a big corporate machine, or there's just something nagging, like something more needs to come out. Carly, I know you really resonated with that feeling as well. How did you feel when you came to this point in your career, when you knew you wanted to change careers, when you knew you wanted to do something else, and what made you realize that you actually had to make a change?
I think for me, so if we rewind and kind of go back to like the start of my career prior to what I do now, I wanted to be a detective. I had seen many thriller films and I was like, right, I want to be a detective. So I went to university and I studied criminology and psychology, and then I got a master's in criminology, and I ended up falling into a job straight out of uni with the police, and I wasn't a police officer, but it was more of like a admin role. But I was like, this is my first foot in the door, because if I want to be a detective, that's where I need to be. So I kind of went through the motions of working there for 4 years, and then I moved into a similar role in a similar.
I'm trying to do something else.
Small.
I'm moving you forward, Carly.
But yeah, so I ended up moving into a similar role in a similar company, and I spent basically 8 years of my life working in crisis and emergency management, which was not the plan, but it was just the way that the path kind of went for me, and I just fell into that role. I didn't become a detective. A police officer told me it was actually really boring and not like we see in the films at all, and I was like, well, yeah, that probably makes sense. So I ended up just falling into this career, right? And it was interesting at times, and like you said, Iris, I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I knew that I was made for more. Prior to kind of falling into that second role that I mentioned, I had looked into life coaching, and I've always been that person in my family and my friendship group that I'm always that ear people always come to me and ask for, you know, help, advice, suggestions, all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I'm going through this. What should I do? So I've always had that kind of helping side within my life, and I got to the point where I was 8 years into this, and I was like, something needs to change, and I need to figure out how I can change it. But I know that something needs to change, and I cannot see myself here forever. I cannot see myself, you know, working in an office forever as well. Like, for me, that just didn't really align with the things that I want to do in my life. And I wanted to take back the control. And I knew that essentially if I worked for someone else forever, I wouldn't have that much control, you know, asking for time off and, you know, not being able to do things when I want was quite restricted for me. And freedom was a big part of my decision to make a change. And I just knew it down inside. I knew it in my gut that something did need to change. I just wasn't sure at that point kind of how I was going to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if do you want me to go into how I did it, or?
Yeah, well, how did you make the first step? I think that's for most people the biggest obstacles. Like, how do you go from, like, I know my gut that I want that extra flexibility or want to take more control of how I live my life and how I work, where I work, what I do. What was the first step that you then took?
So I think I was always interested, like I said, well, like I've said before, like in creativity, helping people, journaling, all of those things. And back in 2017, I started my Instagram, The Journal Life, and through kind of a number of different ways, I built quite a big following on that. And I was like, how could I turn this into a business or a profession, a career? You know, other people are doing it. You know, the social media world is huge now. Other people are living this lifestyle, and you know, social media is a career for a lot of people. One of my best friends is a fashion influencer, you know, and she is doing incredible things. And I was like, right, how can I do it? So I enlisted in B School, which is actually through Marie Forleo is how I met Iris. And
Yes.
I enlisted in B School because I was like, this is the first step to understanding how I can start my own business. I didn't have a clue what that business would be at that point, but I knew that if I take that first step, then the steps will unfold as I move forwards.
Yes.
I kind of had the faith in that, even though I had no
Yes.
clue what it would be. So I made a decision to invest in myself, I guess, was the thing that was the first step. I was still working, you know, full time in my 9 to 5, but I decided to carve out time outside of that outside of that 9 to 5 to invest in myself, start reading, start learning, start understanding what it is for me to create
Yes.
a business, and you know, what will that look like? So that was the first step for me.
Yes, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And if anyone who's watching this has watched some of my other videos, you might know that I tend to bang on about just taking that first step, and that the biggest mistake that you can make when you want to do something else with your career is try to figure everything out, have that, you know, big master plan, or wanting to have that big master plan and not doing anything else until you have the end destination in sight, until you know what it is that you want to do. I always say, no, please don't do that. Take a first step. Doesn't really matter what it is, but as long as it's something that brings you closer to, moves you away from where you are now, something that you're interested in, learn more about it, speak to people. I'm so glad you said that, because it's definitely the most important thing to do when you're stuck, when you're lost, is just start moving. And it doesn't really matter what that first step is, just take that first step, and then things will start to roll. Things will start to make sense. So you kind of it's a bit like following breadcrumbs. You see one breadcrumb and then another one, another one, another one. Anyways, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm very curious to know if that's resonated with anyone who's watching this now or later. If that's the case, please drop us a heart, either in the comment section, in the chat box, or in the private chat box. Yes, so if you resonate with that, let us know. So from there, I wanted to jump to step number one. So if you are at this place where you're like, oh gosh, I'm going around in circles, I feel lost, I don't know what else to do. Maybe you have some ideas, but you don't know how to make that happen, to know what your first step is. Allow me to introduce step number one, which is actually not the one that Carly just said, but it is this one. I'm going to move myself forward again and then get you here. Look at technology, what it can do. Step one is appreciate what has brought you here. Now, this might sound a little bit wishy-washy, or you might kind of go like, but Iris, you were just talking about how important it is to start moving. Yes, it is, but at the same time, when people change careers, they often feel that they've either made the wrong decision in the past, or they feel like they've wasted the past 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. And it's really important to let go of that either guilt or that feeling that you've made a wrong decision, because you have not. I really want to bring this home. You've not made a wrong decision. You've not made a wrong decision. You did the best with what you knew at the time and with what you thought made sense or what was important to you at the time. And this step, first step, appreciate what brought you here, is about two things. It's about becoming aware of those decisions that you've made, becoming aware of your thought process back in the days when you started making your first decisions about where to move with your career. So it's about that, becoming aware of and understanding the decisions that you've made, but then also appreciating everything that you've gained along the way, all the lessons that you've learned in your life, but also your career path, the experiences that you've had, the work experience that you've gained, the skills that you've built, all those things. Because there's really no point, and it's actually quite detrimental to start this journey feeling guilty about decisions that you made, but even worse, doubting yourself because you feel like you've made a wrong decision in the past. What that does is often it really harms your self-esteem or your confidence. So people end up feeling full of self-doubt, full of anxiety that they might make the same mistakes again, or that they choose something that ends up being a wrong decision. And that's really detrimental or counterintuitive, or it's not helpful to start the process that way. So step one, appreciate what brought you here, is super, super important. And Carly's going to take you through some guided journaling exercises, some prompts now to help you figure out what this step one, appreciate what brought you here, means to you. So Carly, I'll hand over the mic to you to take it from here.
Perfect. I just want to add as well, off the back of what you're saying, Iris, like that path that I went down for like 8 years, like I don't regret it, you know, it's part of my journey to where I am now. And actually what it did teach me is what I didn't want. And it made me identify, I don't want to work in this particular environment. I don't want to be, you know, answering to someone else for the rest of my life. So yeah, quite helpful in that sense. You know,
absolutely.
Like learning about the lessons that you've taken from it, the skills that you've developed, but also what has it helped you to see both what you do want and what you don't want.
Yeah, absolutely. Because often you actually don't know what's right for you or what you want to do until you give it a real go, until you've tried it. It's like, actually, with you know, your story about being a detective, it's like, well, actually, you started working in that world, wasn't a detective, but by speaking to other people, you then kind of realize, oh, yeah, maybe not as glamorous as I made it out to be.
No, exactly. And you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so I thought I would give a really, really quick overview of journaling for those of you who maybe have never journaled before. It might be a new thing for you. So this is going to be a really, really quick whistle-stop overview. So essentially what journaling is it's writing down your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and it's going that bit deeper than just kind of, you know, if someone asks you, how are you? And you say, I'm okay. Well, when you journal about it, you would then go that bit deeper and say, actually, I'm not okay. I'm feeling X, Y, Z. And then you dig into that and you understand, okay, why am I feeling this way? So journaling is really about kind of getting, like I said earlier, underneath your skin, going that bit deeper than maybe a conversation does. And it's about understanding what you want, what you need, and all of those different things. It is as simple as getting a pen and a bit of paper and writing. There are lots of other ways to journal, but we won't talk about those now. Just going to keep it simple here, and it is just going to be, you're going to have some questions and you're going to have some time to answer them. So I have 2 journal prompts. I'm going to read both of them out, and then I'm going to give you 3 minutes to journal on them. And Iris has got some fancy things that are going to come up as well.
Yes.
So the first prompt is, how has your current life path led you to where you are now? And then the second part of that question is, what realizations have you had that have led you to notice something needs to change? So we're going to go for 3 minutes on this. I'm just going to mute myself as well.
All right.
I was just going to add as well, like, if 3 minutes wasn't enough, please feel free to come back to these after the session. If you're watching at a later date, just pause it and then have a bit of time with those questions.
All right. Thank you, Carly. All right, so that was step 1, and I hope the journaling exercise helped to get some clarity on what that means to you to appreciate where you are right now. So now you understand and appreciate what brought you here, then it's time for step 2, and that's know what's most important to you right now. So as I said, back in the day, you made decisions based on what made sense to you, what was important to you now, but now it's about understanding step 2, what's most important to you right now. I'd like to call these your non-negotiables, your non-negotiables for happiness. And it's basically the answer to the question, what do you truly, truly need to feel that your current job, not your current, that your job or career works for you? What do you need to feel that your job or career works for you? So what do you need to feel fulfilled? What do you need to feel like things are aligned, things are working, and you're living a life in which your career is not just this thing that you have to do, but it feels like it's enriching you and it's right. So that's the question. That's the answer to that question. Now I'll show you a list. Let me quickly grab it here of non-negotiables, what they could be. This is not an exhaustive list, but this is what your non-negotiables could look like. So it is, for example, flexibility to work from home 3 days a week. It could be the autonomy over your own work or your own schedule. It could be for freedom to work whenever you want and wherever you want from. It could be work-life balance, so you have time for things in your life outside of work. It could be creativity, so you're able to let your creative side out at work or at the thing that you do. Fun, you just want to have a good time at work. Camaraderie, you want to have a good bond with co-workers. You feel like you're working on something together and it's not just you working in isolation on something. Or it could be that one of your non-negotiables is impact. You want to have a real and positive impact on other people on the planet. You don't just want to make money for a big corporate machine. Or it could be belonging. You want to feel and really be part of something. You don't want to feel like what you're doing is futile and whatever. Or it could be recognition. You really want to be recognized for the work that you do and not just feel like just a pin in a big puzzle or a small piece in a big puzzle. Excellence could be another one of your non-negotiables. You want to work in an environment where people really strive to be their best and they want to be and do their best. They strive for more. Or maybe integrity. You want to work in an environment where integrity is really held in high regard. So people say something and then they actually are going to do it as well and they keep their word. As I said, this is just a list of examples of non-negotiables. And ideally, you'd like to get to roughly 4 or 5 non-negotiables. And the question I have for you right now here is, do you know, if I were to ask you right now, or someone else were to ask you right now, what are the 4 to 5 things that are most important to you right now in that next step in your career? Would you be able to list them? Would you be able to articulate that clearly and succinctly? Now, if you're struggling with that, don't worry. Most people find this quite hard because it's not something that, we tend to do. But it's so super, super, super important because this will help you to make decisions going forward to kind of go like, if I know that, let's say, autonomy over my own schedule is important and I want to be able to work whenever and wherever I want, then maybe a job that requires you to be at an office in central London, central Amsterdam, or wherever you are based in the world wouldn't be the right fit for you. So it's important to get clarity on these 4 or 5 non-negotiables that are most important to you. And Carly is again going to help you to get some clarity around your non-negotiables. Now, one thing I want to say before I hand over the mic to you, Carly, is that a really good starting point, you kind of already mentioned it, to figure out what your non-negotiables are, is what's not working for you right now. So take a look at your current situation and name the things that aren't working for you, because it's often quite hard to jump straight to the non-negotiables. Maybe you already, as I'm talking, you kind of go like, these things are important to me. But if you're struggling, then start with what's not working for you. And then from there, you can then kind of start to understand what it is that you do want. Now, Carly, I'll hand the mic over back to you.
Thank you. So we've got 2 more questions and we're going to go for 3 minutes again. So the first question of the 2 is, why do things need to change? And the second part is, what would happen if things didn't change? So again, we're going to go for 3 minutes and I'm going to mute myself again. So have fun.
All right, let's get us back. Here we are again.
Yeah. So again, as I said earlier, please feel free to spend more time on these questions if you want to go that bit deeper. And then we've got one final question for you to really pull it all together. And that is, how would it feel to take back control in regards to your career? I'm just going to spend 1 minute on this. How would it feel to take back control in regards to your career? So spend a minute on this one. About 20 seconds left.
All right. Let's go back to us again. Here we are. All right. Do you want to have any final words about journaling, Carly?
I just encourage you to continue journaling on these things, and just like I said earlier, just really allow yourself to go that bit deeper on the page and be honest with yourself. You know, when we speak to people about these things, sometimes our friends, loved ones, they can offer us, let's say, unsolicited opinions or advice, especially when we're talking about careers and things like that. So sometimes when we write things down, we don't have those opinions or any of that kind of stuff coming back to us from the page, because the page is, we can't do that. So it's really helpful to just really spend some time with your thoughts and your feelings around this topic, because it can be quite a difficult one if you realise that you do need something does need to change. So just really spend time figuring it out and asking yourself those hard questions.
Yes, yeah, and whilst I just want to add to that, whilst it can be confronting or difficult to realize that you actually do need to make some big changes, it's also liberating, because once you know that you need to make big changes, then you can start doing something about your situation. You can start to take action. You might not know exactly where to start. As long as you start taking that first step, then things will start to roll, and you don't want to stay stuck in that situation that you've been in, where you feel like you want to do something else, but you're not quite sure what. So sometimes confrontation or feeling like, oh gosh, yes, okay, I really need to make some big changes. It's good. It's a good thing. All right, so now you know what your non-negotiables are, then it's time for step 3, and that is follow your interests. Now, this is the step where most people struggle a lot, which I think is such a shame, because we tend to overcomplicate things. We tend to overcomplicate this step massively, because actually could be quite simple. I really believe that. So grab your pen, you probably still have it from journaling, and that piece of paper, and write this down. Something that you're interested in plus your non-negotiable equals a career that's right for you. So I'll repeat that. Something that you're interested in plus your non-negotiables equals a career that's right for you. Now, something that you're interested in. The reason why I bring this up, follow your interest, start with your interests, is because we tend to hear this phrase, find your passion. Find this one thing that you're meant to do with your life. Or go back to when you were young and figure out what you used to really love doing. What did you love doing the most when you were young? And that's how people tend to, I guess from my experience at least, that's how people try to start their career change journey. They come up with this massive pressure because other people and the media, I don't know where it comes from, but forces them to figure out what that passion is or figuring out what this one thing is they're meant to do with their life. And that is, as I said, just putting way too much pressure on it. It's also not really how it works. I guess that's another video, a whole other 30 minutes that I could spend on just that. But I just want to keep it more focused on this. Ditch that whole idea of finding your passion. Ditch that whole idea of there's this one thing that I'm meant to or supposed to do with my life. Just start with your interests. Now, interests can come in many ways. It could be a field of work or an area that you're interested in. Something like, I don't know, artificial intelligence, climate change, nutrition, personal development, or coaching, which was clearly for Carly and me the case. It could be healthy living. It could be yoga. It could be online marketing. Anything that you're interested in and that you enjoy talking about, enjoy reading more about, enjoy watching TED videos or anything like that about. So that's one way an interest can become clear to you. Another way an interest can become clear to you is because it's something that you have a personal connection with. It's something that you've gone through, very often quite a challenging situation, and you've overcome this thing, you found a solution, and you feel compelled, I want to say, or you feel at least that the idea of doing something with it, sharing this struggle that you had, not necessarily your own struggle, but sharing the solution with others, is something that it appeals to you to do something professionally with that. I'm not saying, oh, that's going to be the answer. This is the thing that you're meant to do, but that could be an interest. So it may be that you've gone through difficulty with, let's say, your baby who wasn't sleeping and you've learned about sleep training, or maybe you've had some health issues and you found something in alternative medicine or herbs or essential oils that have really helped you. Or it could be some kind of therapy and you just feel like, okay, this is interesting. I love to learn more about these things. That's a second way an interest can become clear to you. And a third way an interest can become clear to you is because you see this problem in the world, you see this issue in the world, and you really care about that issue, and you would like to potentially do something with it. So this could be things like, again, just some bunch of ideas. Homelessness, you care about that and you'd feel great to do something about it. It could be food wastage. It could be racism. It could be sustainability, the green economy, anything you see like as a problem issue in the world, and you feel that you have that yearning to learn more about that, to educate yourself about it. So that's also an interest. Now, the important thing here is to not try just to pick one interest and say, this is the one interest that I'm going to start with and that I'm going to follow. Don't pick the one thing that you care most about. Pick 2 or 3, and that's your starting point. That's where you figure out what move you can do next, which direction you can move in to next. Now, Carly, very quickly, I want to go back to you because you were also at this point in your career where you knew you had to do something else and you knew you were interested in journaling and helping people. What do you then do to connect those dots? I know you already spoke a little bit about your journey, but when you kind of thought, okay, I like journaling and I like people, how did you figure out this was something that you could do something about? You said B school, but you must have had some other things that you've done to figure out if it was viable, if it's something that you could do something with.
Yeah, so again, yeah, like B School was definitely the starting point for me. So as I said, I started my Instagram page in 2017, but I didn't do B School until 2019. So I spent that time in between kind of building my community, building a bit of a following, but I still, yeah, like I said, I still didn't know how I was going to turn this into a business, or, you know, what it has become now. And it is a business, but I also don't like calling it a business, because, you know, I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to help people. So I think I did exactly what you've just been saying. I kind of thought about, you know, these things that I'm interested in. How can I turn this into something that I can leave my 9 to 5 and I can do this full time? And again, I think it comes back to sitting on Google, doing some research, looking about what other people are doing. You know, it's not about copying them. It's about understanding what's possible and understanding what other people are doing in terms of career and job. And, you know, if other people are doing it, then so can I. And that actually was, there was a quote that really got me through kind of the hard times of like doing this on the side, was, you know, there are tons of other people out there doing what you want to do. You know, you can do it.
Yes.
And also probably far less qualified was the actual quote. That there are people out there doing things that are far less qualified than you. You know, get to it, you can do it. And I think it was, like I said, reading, finding online courses. There are so many free online courses that you can do on websites like Udemy and things like that. There's so much free content out there. Following people on social media who are doing similar things keeps me inspired and motivated. And then also, again, investing in more courses and things that are going to help me actually learn the skills that I need. So, you know, do a life coaching certificate, but then also investing in my master's in positive psychology and coaching psychology. Although that's not something that you have to do, it was something that I wanted to do. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's seeking out the learning opportunities and the things that are going to help you. And then it is a case of learning until you understand how you can connect the dots.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes back to like education, investing in yourself, and keeping yourself motivated and inspired as well.
Yeah.
And what I will say as well is that this is still taking me, although I'm about 18 months in, I have only just in the last few months kind of figured out more around the whole creativity side of things. Although it's always been there, I've only really kind of decided that's the route I want to go down, because it's such
Yeah.
a big world of coaching and there's so many different routes you can go down.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that will become clear over time. So
Yes. So you started doing it and
yeah,
started taking action.
it's allowing yourself to go on this journey, and things will become clear along the way.
Yes, one thing I think that's really important of your journey is that you started your journal life. So it's kind of like, I guess, started more as a passion project, something that you just started, not so much like, okay, this is a business I'm starting, but just something that you were interested in. It's like, let's just start this and I'll see wherever it goes. And I think that's so important.
It was completely different when I started it. It was all about creative journaling, and I would, you know, it was almost like a Pinterest page for myself on Instagram, and I would share my own stuff, I would share other people's stuff, and if you scroll back down my Instagram, it looks very different to how it does now. And it was only in 2020 that I started changing it more towards the life coaching side of things, and I then developed it over the last couple of years. And the pandemic, also, I should add, the pandemic did fast track things for me in terms of actually taking the leap from my 9 to 5. Because that was in the plan, but I didn't know when it was going to happen, leaving my 9 to 5 to pursue this. But then the universe works in wonderful ways.
It really can, yes. Yes, thanks for sharing that, Carly. I just want to share one final thing before we start to wrap things up, and that's that this whole process of changing careers can feel and often feels really messy, where you feel like you are going one way and another way, and it's not a clear linear process. And that's the way it is. If you feel like you're going around in circles and it's messy, that's normal. That's all part of it. The way I'd like to sometimes describe this is that it's almost like you're in a dark forest at night and you're trying to find your way through. You're not really sure where to go, which way to go. So you go one direction, then you realize it's blocked there. So you need to go the other way, turn around, go another way. And you find your way by literally going around in circles and this way. And ultimately you find your way. But if you hold on to your beacons, your non-negotiables, and your interests, then you will find your way through it. It might take a little bit of time. Career change, on average, takes about 3 to 5 years. I'm not saying that to discourage anyone, but more to realize that you can give yourself time. You can give yourself time to figure it out, and you don't need to make that big leap to say, right, I'm quitting my job right now, and I need to do this thing. It's all about taking small steps, taking micro steps, and working your way there and trying to figure things out as you go. So the process might feel messy, but that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. Now, if you want to know more about working with me, I can help you through that process, because the process does take a few basic steps. The steps are all the same, but the process feels messy. But so if you want to know more about working with me, you can hop on over to my website, irissmith.com. You can also check out my YouTube channel, where you already are, because you see this. But if you check all my videos, I've got a bunch of videos on quitting your job, on changing careers, all these kind of things. And Carly, if people want to know more about working with Carly or what she's up to, then that's me. There you are. Then want to know more about Carly, then her website is thejournallife.co.uk. You can also find her on Instagram, The Journal Life. Carly, if people want to know more about you and what you do, I know you share fantastic things on your website. You've got a live hub with all sorts of resources and courses and programs. You want to tell shortly, briefly, something about that to people watching who want to know more about it?
Yeah. So I hang out a lot of the time on Instagram, so I'm always over there. So come and say hi, come and give me a follow. So that's my home. And then, as Iris has just said, on my website, I have a whole section called the Life Hub, which is full of different downloads. They're all free. You can download them, and there's things for understanding what your core values are, what you want to do with your life while you're here, your bucket list, your life list, what to do when you feel lost in life and stuck. So there's loads of stuff on there. I also, as I mentioned at the start, I run journaling workshops, creative workshops, courses, all of that stuff, and you can find it all on my website.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. I see a comment here. Just want to say hi. This all helpful advice and information all resonates with me. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining in. 50 minutes. Amazing that you've been here the whole time. I really hope that this has been helpful, that you've learned some new things or have some ideas about how to move forward, and you've gained some clarity through the journaling exercises with Carly. So thank you for watching, and we'll say adios.